Hey guys, and down here, this is going to be my chapter review to One Piece, chapter 960. Kozuki Oden takes the stage, or is there? I'm not sure what the actual. What was the mainstream version called? I don't know. God knows. But I enjoyed this chapter. We got to see a few characters who we're already very familiar with. We got to see them in the past. We got to see how Wano was 41 years ago, apparently, not 39 years ago. I'm not sure whether that was changed from a chapter, whether Oda tweeted it or something. I'm not sure. But that's what people in the mainstream comments are saying, so I'll go with what they're saying because multiple people had said it. Anyway, let's go straight into the chapter. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. So the first thing we see is Beige in Dressrosa trying to find Lola, and he's trying to guess who they are or who she is via her hairstyle, and he's judging it, I think, by possibly details maybe Chiffon gave him. So he's there mistaking two ladies as possibly one of them being Lola. Anyway, I like the fact that we get to see the statue of Luffy, Usopp, and Kairos in the back. That's a pretty nice touch. Anyway, we go straight into the chapter, and this is awesome. So we see Wano, the capital, back. This was 41 years ago. It's a flourishing forest, insane greenery, and it looks awesome. The vegetation is very, what's the word? Very rife. Is very dense. The rivers are clean, sparkling sea, all that good stuff. So essentially, it's showing Wano how it was prior to all these factories, all the wildlife being mutated and essentially deformed due to whatever the factories are pumping into the water. But you see the fish and everything, they look fresh. The deer are alive, boars are alive. The ecosystem and the habitats there are flourishing. So we go to this kind of hilltop. It might even be a mountaintop where we see these three guys at a tea house, and the tea house is being is either owned by. Well, it says she's a tea house poster girl, so she's probably one of the serving ladies there. But it's Osuru, otherwise known as Surujo, in this chapter, and she looks a lot younger here. Obviously, it's 41 years ago, So she looks a lot younger. She looks kind of very Robin-esque, but there are differences in how she looks, in the sense of she doesn't seem to be quite so hourglass as Robin, but she is wearing like a kimono, so I'm not too sure. And her neck seems to be a little bit longer and rounder at the chin rather than pointed. So there are differences, but she does look quite a bit like Robin. Anyway, they're discussing with Surujo, who is the tea house girl. They're saying, we're telling the truth. We saw this mountain moving, and that's what we're on the run from right now. It was even growling. And she's like, maybe it was a mountain god. They're scoffing at that, like, yeah, we don't think so. And then they tell her a secret. They're like, we've been trying to do this. We've been trying to capture an elusive creature for the last year, and this is it. We finally captured it. So they opened this box, and this little cute little ball kind of thing. Well, it's definitely a boar. Peeks its head out, and it's like, oink oink, motherfuckers. And I like how the guy in the back looks like the Gorillas guy from My Hero Academia, by the way. I just thought I'd mention that. Anyway, this is a snow white boar. It's completely white. Its fur is white, and that's what they've been chasing. And apparently, if they go to the capital with this, they can trade it into a guy called, what was his name, Kurokama, for a whole piece of white gold, which apparently is enough to build a giant mansion, according to Osuru. So they're saying that this Kurokama guy has been wanting to, obtain this boar for a while now, possibly to display it outside the store, which is, according to Osuru, quite distasteful, as the white boars are considered heralds of the gods. So you're like, oh shit, okay, these guys obviously don't believe in it, but it comes to the fore at the end of the chapter. This is the fun part though, and this is kind of, it adds a little bit more flavor to the character, it adds a little bit more history to the character, and it's something I wasn't expecting at all, to be fair. Even though they've always said, before we met Odin, we were kind of scoundrels and stuff like that. I didn't expect Kinemon, at least, to be as much of a scoundrel as he's shown to be in this chapter, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there wouldn't have either. So we hear something like a clang or something. Maybe Osuru booby-trapped her wallet or her finances cupboard or something. And we see a young Kinemon essentially trying to steal from Osuru, trying to take money out of her wallet, and she's there. She slams him to the ground in like some judo-esque fashion. She's got his arm pinned behind him, and he's there like, think about childhood friendship. So it's cool to know that, Kinemon and Osuru, we know them that 41 years later they had been married within that time period, but they'd known each other since they were kids. They were childhood friends, so that was kind of like a a little romance that they'd had since they were kids, which is quite nice. Anyway, she slams him to the ground, and he's there. All like, my big bros, they've been having money issues. He's obviously a thug here. His hair's been dyed white or dyed blonde, or any bright color. And she's like, your bros are asshats. They gamble their money away. She's like, this part was pretty grim. She's like, if you ever touch my money again, I'm gonna rip out your organs and sell them to reclaim your debt. She's straight up gonna organ traffic freaking Kinemon if he ever does it again. And his face is just quality. He's just kind of like, shit. Okay, so she beats the everlasting shit out of him, literally saying, if you can't afford to pay me back, then I'll strip you, like take off everything you have on you right now. I'll take that from you. You can get the heck out. The three guys who had captured the boar, they leave and they make their way towards the capital. On their way there, though, a Kinemon who's now escaped the wrath of Osuru, he beats the everlasting shit out of them in order to claim this white boar so that he can make some money out of it. You can see he's lost all of his clothes. The only thing he has is I forgot what it's called. What's the little kind of thong thing that old school Japanese people would wear? Anyway, he's got that on, and it says Kin on the front. I thought that was pretty funny. But it says here, a Yakuza thug from the capital, Kinemon. He's beat the everlasting shit out of those guys as well, and he's stolen the boar from them in order to make some money so he can pay back the people he needs to pay back, or to just gamble it away. You know, that's the type of guy Kinemon seems to be. You see here a wicked smile as he obtains the boar. He's not the same Kinemon that we know right now. So he takes their clothes and he takes their money. Then we come to a really beefy part of the chapter where last chapter I made mention of, it might be a key fact that Odin couldn't set sail. He failed to set sail again. I thought it would have been something deeper, but I was also aware of the fact that it might have just been that he's terrible at navigation or terrible at sailing, and that's what it turned out to be. So one of it looks like, we know it's Kozuki Sukiyaki, which is Odin's father. I think Sukiyaki is also a food, if I remember correctly. Anyway, one of his attendees is conveying to him kind of Odin's life events, as if his father doesn't already know them. But I think it was spurred on by the fact that this was his 38th attempt to illegally leave the country, and the fact that he is still alive is surprising. And let's just remind you of the other shit your son's done since he was born. So apparently when he was born, less than a year old, he managed to fling his wet nurse across the room. So this is the type of character Odin is. Someone actually mentions it and gives a detailed kind of message as to a detailed log almost as to how Odin is almost reflective of Heracles or Hercules in Greek mythology. And to be fair, he made some really good points. I won't go through it. I think his name was Darkstar. I hope it was Darkstar because I can't be bothered to find it again. Yeah, it was Darkstar on Manga Stream. So go check out his comment. It's quite insightful, but it does kind of reflect Odin in a sense, or Heracles in a sense. At less than a year old, he managed to fling his wet nurse across the room incredibly strong. By age 2, he was able to catch 2 rabbits with his bare hands incredibly quick. By age 4, he killed a bear by throwing a large boulder at it. By age 6, he was roaming the red light district, wasting royal funds on frivolities. I'm just like, at age 6, the guy was in the red light district? Like, I understand we see him now at 18 years of age, Kozuki Odin, and he looks like he's about 30 in the prime of his life, and his dad's just there like, oh my god, like what the hell is, I remember all this shit about this kid, what the hell is wrong with him, he's a monster. Anyway, age 6, he was roaming the red light district. This guy was like, he was injected with all the testosterone at birth, and I'm not sure what type of puberty he was hit by, but it was a freight train. By age 8, he was getting drunk, starting fights with gamblers. By age 9, he got in a war. But by age 9, he initially got blacklisted by the Yakuza because they banned him. They banned him from entering a casino, and then in retaliation to that, what Odin did was he burnt down their casino and started a war with them. And he was eventually captured at age 10 after he nearly killed someone. He was then sentenced to labor in the same, I think it's the same hard labor, the same stone quarry that Luffy was sentenced to, or Luffy was imprisoned in, and that's where he showed off more of his unique talents, in the sense of he climbed the ranks of the quarry until he was running the place. Apparently this is valuable information in the sense of it shows how true of a member of the Kozuki family he is. It shows how his blood runs thick with the Kozuki strength. And I'm just like, this kid was still at the red light district at age 6, but at age 10 he was smashing that stone quarry. We have Luffy here. I'm not sure how old he is now. He's probably in his 20s, 21 to 23ish. I'd say Luffy is. But he was smashing the same shit that Luffy was doing at age 10. Kozuki Oden was no joke. This guy is an absolute monster, or was an absolute monster. Anyway, after his imprisonment, his attitude apparently changed. When he came back to the capital, he realized that it was experiencing a drought, and when he heard of the people suffering and all that stuff, he diverted a river straight into the capital. Now, this is very typical of, like, you know, someone who has great strength trying to help people out, but he doesn't really consider his actions or the consequences of doing something. So what he actually does is he makes things worse for people. And so I think at this point, Kozuki Oden was trying his best to be a good person, but he was really just fucking up every situation. So he seems to be someone who lives very much in the moment, and I'll help you out, and then he'll help someone out without thinking of the consequences of helping them out in the way that he prefers to do. He seems to, you know, he does what he wants, when he wants, how he wants, but you know, that isn't how you help people. You have to consider their situation, what you can do to benefit them in the best way possible. That isn't Oden, though. He does what he wants and how he thinks he would benefit someone. So yeah, his kind of action of diverting that river straight to the capital led to the capital flooding, and his capture was ordered. He just escaped via that water route, though. Attempted to go out to sea, he failed, and then he went and he apparently threatened some temple priests to stay at the temple in the mountains, and every night he would kidnap women from the capital and eventually formed a harem. And his dad's like, this is the work of a devil, or this is how a demon is formed, or something like that. And I like how Oden mentioned, even though the girls were technically free to leave of their own will, you know, getting rid of that kind of rapey vibe, which is a good thing. Basically what Oden did was, because he was stealing women from the capital every night, forming a harem, all their husbands, parents, and samurai and stuff like that tried to fight him off. Because of it formed something known as the harem revolt. And I think the mainstream translation makes it sound like it's more of a regular thing, or it was more of a regular thing, like a weekly thing, like, oh my god, he's stolen our women again, let's go kick his ass. And they'd go and take him on, and he was there ready to take them on. And then it shows that even the Hyogoro family got dragged into it after failing to prevent the fighting. So that's all good, but what it's done for me is it's really, really shone a negative light on Kozuki Oden in the first 18 years of his life. The guy's been a pretty weird guy. He's pretty much been an asshole, right? He's an asshole. He's been stealing women. He's been all the frivolities you could possibly engage in. He's been engaging in. He just seems like a really wild child. A wild man-child. A child man. And he has very little consideration for other people at this point in time. We see him later on in this chapter maybe considering the strife of other people, but for the first 18 years of his life, it seems that he's been a very, very difficult person to handle. His father hands his attendee a note which just says disowned on it, and he says, don't say another word, just deliver this to Oden for me. So Oden has essentially been disowned at this point. We're not sure if he actually receives that letter. I think he does. I think someone mentioned it, or there was mentioned in One Piece beforehand that he was disowned and then he went to Kuri, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, Kinemon's in the capital. He's running away from some people who he owes money to, and he's saying, yo, let me just go to Kurakama's family mansion. I can sell off this pig, this boar, and I'll pay you back all the money I owe you. We see the people he owes money to is actually the Hyogoro, the flower. So he's like, catch him and flay him alive is what I would usually say, but in a one-on-one fight, he would kick the shit out of all of you guys, so just don't engage him one-on-one. And I think he's just like, yeah, just kill the guy. He doesn't actually say that, though. Anyway, we see a young boy here swindling a store owner of a pot to cook in. You know, I'm not going to go through that, but essentially his name is Denjiro. So this is the first time we see him, and this is actually something that never caught my eye when I read it the first time. But when I read it the second time, someone mentioned it in the comments. If you look at Denjiro's sword, it looks very, very familiar in the sense of it looks like Wado Ichimonji, Zoro's sword that he obtained from his master. His master gave it to him, and Denjiro himself looks very, very familiar in the sense of he looks like he has very similar qualities. The nose, the kind of brow area, the hairstyle. He looks very similar to Koshiro, I think his name was, which was Zoro's master. So there's got to be something there. I don't know, man. But and especially because Denjiro is an orphan from the capital, you know, we don't know who his parents are, but he may have siblings. We don't know. But that looks very, very much like Wado Ichimonji, and Denjiro looks very familiar as well. Anyway, we then go to a crematorium where this dude called Katsuzo has been cremated, and the people there are crying because, you know, during the cremation of this man known as Katsuzo, we had Kozuki Oden, who we see for the first time, his face and everything. He looks a lot older than 18, but he has this pot, essentially this hot pot, on top of the bones of the person who's being cremated, and he's just eating Oden, essentially a hot pot dish. He's just eating on top of it. You know, he's heating up his pot with the flames that burnt this guy, Katsuzo. That's how he's boiling his dish, essentially, and he's eating on top of it. And I was like, yo, like, this guy, we knew he was a bit of a dickhead, but this guy is an asshat. Like, I understand, like, when we see the next part of the chapter, possibly why he did it, but he's just there totally, like I said, inconsiderate of everybody else's feelings. He just does what he wants to do, and he's not really considering the feelings of the family and stuff like that. He's literally desecrating the dead right now. So he's there swigging some wine, eating the food, all that good stuff. He even holds the hot pot from the bottom, so the flames are burning his hand, but he doesn't seem to notice it. It doesn't seem to affect him so much. And he says, the next time we drink together, Katsuzo, it will be in the afterlife. So it sounds like this was someone who was a close friend of his. And then he says, now then, my condolences to the family, and he walks away. The guy here says, my apologies. He's not one for detailed explanations. But all the women there are like suddenly swayed by Oden's charm. I'm not sure exactly what it is he said, but they seem to have clocked the idea that Katsuzo was a friend of his, and that's why he did what he did. But I'm like, yeah, I mean, like, I understand it's almost like, you know, one last meal with your friend, one last drink with your friend. But he's eating on top of the dead body of someone. That's not something I'd imagine Luffy doing, you know. Maybe at the grave of someone, but on top of their dead body, like while it's burning. I don't see that. So it's a little bit weird, but Oden seems to be a really, really just I don't know, just a really, really weird guy, an inconsiderate person. Anyway, he's speaking to one of these guys who's been bribed to capture him, and then he hears a fire bell ringing in the city, and he's like, it's weird. Nobody's avoiding me. People usually run away from me. This time they're running past me. What's happening? So he asks the guy, like, in some sort of a tower that's meant to be there to overlook the city, and he's like, is there a big fire or some shit? And the guy's there like, it's bigger than a fire. This is where we get a bit of a backstory. Denjiro tells Kinemon apparently they have a relationship. They might be friends, they might be siblings, who knows. He tells Kinemon about, you know, that white boar that you have. It was being looked at by that Kurokama guy to crush the Hyogoro family, because if you have that white boar, the child anyway, what runs after it is its parent. The parent will always come after it, and that parent is known as a mountain god. It's a full-grown white boar the size of a mountain. So that's what's come to the flower capital, and everyone's shitting their pants running away from it. We can't actually see it. We just see some smoke in the back of the capital, and everyone's evacuating. Denjiro and Kinemon are shitting their pants like, holy shit. But right next to them is Oden, and he's like, that's an interesting story. I don't know you guys, but give me that boar. So this is where they first meet, I assume. He says he doesn't know them. And this is probably where he gains their trust, where they swear their fealty to him or something like that. And I'm wondering where this goes from now, because Kinemon, Oden's gonna get news of his of him being disowned. So how is he gonna take that? I reckon he's gonna save the capital, but much like the rest of his life, he's probably gonna save the capital, but like cause major damage, which causes him to be exiled from the capital, which is why he would then go to Kuri with Kinemon and Denjiro and anybody else who wants to go with him. So I think that's what's going to happen. I enjoyed the chapter. I thought it was pretty good. Let me know what you guys thought of it. Let me know what you guys thought of the whole Denjiro wearing Wado Ichimonji or possessing Wado Ichimonji, and let me know what you guys thought of all that good stuff. So like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next couple hours when I also release my My Hero Academia review. and I'll see you when and where I can get to One Punch Man. I'll let you guys know exactly why I've been slow later on. See you in a bit.